Okay, let me try to do a kind of a brief analysis of Girl from Ipanema, the bridge. Everybody, the rest tunes in F, everybody's got that, sounds pretty easy. So you could, one analysis, which a lot of guys do, since most of the tunes in the key of F, just compare everything into relation to F. So it'd be flat 2, flat 5, flat 2 minor, etc., all the way through. Everything's in relation to F. You can't go wrong, self-explanatory, there's no mistakes, because you're only thinking in one key. And most of the chord scales, there's enough. The melody doesn't give you enough of the notes to really define all the possible combinations. So there's a lot of room for interpretation of each chord. But anyway, I don't hear, like, I actually hear that as a modulation to F sharp major. I don't hear Lydian. I hear major. I think he plays line cliché, so the 1 major to 1 minor. I don't hear, even though it says just B7, or whatever, B7, I hear it is actually going to F minor major 7. Now we're in B7, mixed sus, resolve. Then we're still in F sharp minor, excuse me. And then up to the D, I hear that as the same pattern. I hear the A minor major 7, now D sus, D resolve. The pattern repeats. And then when it goes to, that's the new 5, new 1, we modulate to G minor, and I hear that same pattern repeat again. Instead of just E flat, and then once the 2 5 of 2 5 would be back to A, which would be an F. Whenever you have these 2 5s, they call those contiguous 2 5s, you don't really have to write out the analysis. I mean, you could call this 3 minor, 7, whatever, 5 7 of 2, 5 of 1. You don't really have to. And that, when you say 3 minor, you define, you're saying Phrygian. So if you want to play Phrygian, that's, but there's more options. I actually play Dorian. So they usually just write a big bracket over those 4 chords and call it a chord pattern, and where you have an arrow pointing to where it goes, which would be the original key of F. And if you're thinking of an analysis, you're going to write numbers, you could call this 1, and call this 4 7. You know, that's pretty standard. Pretty standard modal interchange, 1 4 kind of thing. 1 4 7. You can, and if you say Lydian. Okay, so 1 4 7 of Lydian flat 7 sharp 11, and now 1 minor 7. Some guys call that relative minor, which would work, but we're not in Aeolian. We're in Dorian. So it's really modal interchange. Relative minor from major is the kind of one of the original modal interchanges, but in jazz there's a million of them. But anyway, I call this Dorian. D7, you could think of this as flat 6 to 5 of, we're in the key of F sharp minor, right? Flat 6. Or, because it goes, it could be the 5 of the new key at G sharp minor. So when a chord has 2 ways of looking at it, they call it dual function. If we're in F sharp minor, we call it flat 6. If we're in G minor, we call it 5, right? There's dual functions, so it depends on if you're soloing, if you're, if you're going to think. Usually chords that go to 1 aren't Lydian flat 7. You can, but it's not the normal. And usually when it's a minor, you use alter or some kind of harmonic. Usually you don't use Lydian flat 7. It's not that common. It can work, and obviously Joe Beam wrote a melody that works. That's why I tend to hear it as F sharp, flat 6, and it deceptively resolves to G minor. Same pattern, flat 6, deceptively resolves scales to our big chord pattern, which gets us back to F. So chord scales, I think you got that right. So major, you could use Lydian. Lydian's kind of help, but you can do it depending on what you want. I wouldn't do it with a melody; it's too strong. The sharp 4 would take too much away from the melody. And then you can just play the whole thing. I think some said Lydian flat 7. I don't. I hear it as Lydian flat 7 to mix it in. So that's a back to F sharp Doran. Our new 1 minor to. I hear that same thing as Lydian flat 7 to sus resolve. New 1 chord G major to same thing pattern flat 6, and then chord pattern out. You can play, as we were talking about, fruit. I usually play Dorian. Anyway, hope it helps. Thanks, man.